Welcome back to the final episode of the Flagrant Foul Fridays. I am Nick,
I'm Christian.
and April Fools, everybody. It is April 1st on the day of recording, so in case you got really scared that it's the last episode, it's not. Anyway, so this week we decided to do a special segment on the sport. It's like a sports wordle game where our themes are basketball players in college football schools. We got some updates on March Madness as we are finally into the Final Four. Ball in order. We got a lot of news there. And yeah, so just keep listening along. And we have plenty of news for you to stay intrigued on.
All right, so our special segment, like you said, is a sports word game. It's very similar to Wordle, except um, we have themes, I guess. So the first theme is it has to be a basketball player, so presumably probably their last name, but it could be their first name as long as it's 5 letters. We're gonna have 6 guesses, and then just like Wordle, we're gonna have yellow, green, and blank colors to indicate if we are right, wrong, or anything in between, or it's in the wrong position. Most of you know probably how Wordle works, so I don't have to explain it. Then theme 2 is college football schools. However, we're having a tough time coming up with 5-letter schools, so we narrowed it down to 3-letter abbreviations. So that could be tough. It could be easier. I don't know. But both of us came up with words for the other, and yeah, we're just gonna get right into it. So I guess we'll start with my first word for basketball players. What are you gonna guess, Nick?
Let's go with Oscar.
Oscar.
Uh, O and an
That's it.
S.
Yep, an O and an S, but they're in the wrong place.
Hmm. Which way do I go? Do I guess more letters or do I try to see if I could find out where the O and the S go?
You could do both at the same time if you could think of names.
I was gonna say Jokic, but then I'd be using the C and the O again. But that would put the O in a different place.
Yeah, I think C would be the only reused letter, so that's not terrible. Is that what you're gonna go with?
Sure, I'll go Jokic.
You know, I almost picked Jokic.
So O's in the right spot now. And that's the only one? Jeez. Hmm. I almost said Bosch, but that's 4 letters. So could the S be first? I'm trying to think of people with an O.
And keep in mind, you can just guess names in general, even if they're not in the NBA. That might help you narrow it down.
I've already used the C and the K, I, A, R. So I've used I, A, and O. So I could try to get an E out of the way. I'll go with Evans and see if S is at the end. That'll get the E out of the way. Oh, there we go.
You got the N and the S in the right position, and now you know there's an N.
Now this got hard because there's no E, there's no A, there's no I, there's an O, and potentially a U. I would say Johns, but I can't think of anybody with the name Johns for a last name. And plus the J's not available. So ONS. What could go there? Towns.
Is that what you're going with?
Yeah. Eh,
That is correct. It is Carl Anthony Towns. That actually went better than I thought it would. Good job.
thank you, thank you.
Hopefully we didn't pick the same person. I was gonna say Curry, but I don't like that he has 2 R's. That feels like a waste. So let's go with Maxi. X is maybe not a good pick, but if it happens to be there, it's really good.
And that's it.
So there's an A, but not in that place. Okay. I'll go with Jokic. I haven't used any of those letters. Ooh.
And that's it.
Okay. So there's an O in the second place and an A somewhere. Let's go with. I can't think of anything. Every name I'm thinking of has A in the wrong spot, so that doesn't help. Let's go with Brooke. I don't even know if that's a last name.
That's a first name. Brooke Lopez.
Yeah, it's a bit of a wasted letter, but it is good to know if there's two O's in a row. Okay, that helped more than I thought. I now know there's only one O and there's an R. Let's go with uh what's a letter I haven't done yet? It's really
Plenty of
hard
them.
not knowing what letters I haven't done.
Oh, you've done
Dot.
M,
Alright, or do
A, X,
dot. Dotra.
Dotra.
Yeah, Dotra. Definitely a name. Yeah, is this some obscure player?
I don't think he's in the league anymore,
Uh,
but he's pretty well known. Let me look and see if he's still in the league, actually. He retired in 2024.
have I done L? I don't have it. Let's do Laura. Lorap.
Lower.
Okay, so I know where the A is and the R. Why am I blanking? I see these letters and I just can't think of names. So it's something ORA something. And I'm on my final guess, so I can't find out what those letters are. I'm gonna put the letters I haven't used. I haven't used F. I haven't used G. I haven't used H. I haven't used N. Okay, I think that's all the letters I haven't used. Let's go with. Yeah, I am like not seeing anything here. I guess I'll just go with 4A. Foray.
So the real answer was Goron. Goron Dragic.
Wow. Wow. Okay. I see you made it hard.
Not purposefully.
Not purposefully.
That's
Yeah.
just the only player I could think of.
How is that the only play? Okay. You could have done Curry, Jokic. There's so many options.
I wasn't thinking about last name. I was thinking about first name.
Oh.
Which I could have done Oscar. Once I said it out loud, I was like, oh, I could have did that one.
Oh, that's fine. I'll remember that next time we do something like this. All right, now we're on to theme 2, which is only 3 letters. College football schools. I'm ready when you are.
I'm ready as well. Let's go with the obvious one, OSU. I know that's not going to be it, but
There you go.
oh, there's not even a U.
Yup. I figured there's a lot of schools that end in U. I'm not going to give you that.
Let's go Bay for Baylor.
I actually think I was going to do Baylor, but I think their abbreviation is actually more than 3 letters. Just
So
the A
there's
is right.
so there's an A in the middle. I almost said Miami, but that's at the end. What if I went Army's too many letters, Navy's too many letters. Let's go Ha for Hawaii.
I think with how many little letters you get, it might be more useful to go for overall letters and just ignore the A. 2 more guesses.
Hmm. Let's go. What have I guessed already? So there's no S, no U, no Y, no B, no O, no H, no W. So what do I want to guess? What if I go WAG for Wagner?
You know there's not a W though. Are you sure you want to do that?
Oh, wait. I forgot there's no W. Hmm. I'm stumped. What if I go JAC for Jacksonville? Oh, boy.
That's it.
Oh, I didn't realize how many of them had an A in them.
A lot, but a lot of them have a U.
You know what? I think I'm going to take a shot in the dark. I'm going to say LAF or Lafayette for my final guess. Dang
That
it.
is incorrect. The correct answer was VAN for
Vanderbilt.
Vanderbilt.
How did I overlook that? I was literally going through it. I was like, oh, that one has a U, that one has a U, that one has a U, and I probably overlooked it.
I'm gonna start with AUB for Auburn because I feel like there's a lot of A's and getting that U out of the way is helpful.
Yellow on the U.
Okay, so it probably ends in U. Let's go USF. Oh wait, no. Well, yeah, let's do it. I kind of need to know if the U's at the start or the end. Ooh, there's an F, and I know the location of the U. So that's really helpful. There's no S though, so it's not Florida State. Let's go FIU. Wow, what a crazy poll. We basically did the opposite. I did good on the second one, you did good on the first.
I almost went UAB and you went almost had it on the first one.
That'd have been crazy. Well, yeah, GG. I feel
GG,
like
1-1.
I feel like we have to have a tiebreaker now.
A tiebreaker.
Yeah, don't you think?
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
we both got one right.
What would the tiebreaker be?
I think we do
15-letter NBA name.
15 letter. No, I think we pick a 4-letter abbreviation from that list I sent you of college football teams. And then we get one guess. Whoever gets the most yellow or green wins. We're say green is 2 points, yellow is 1 point. And then if there's still a tie, we're just go the next row down until we have a winner. All right, I got mine. You got yours?
Yeah, I got mine.
Go ahead, take your guess of mine.
I'm going to go with Char, Char for Charlotte.
Nothing.
Well done.
I just have to get one yellow and I win. I'm gonna go with ARST for Arkansas State.
ARST.
Yep. I just need one yellow and I win the tiebreak. Those are some of the most common letters, so I feel good about it.
Nope.
Really, nothing. All right. What's your second guess?
Char. What else can I get out of here? TOWS for Towson.
I'm gonna go UNLV, University of Northern Las Vegas, or whatever it is. This is risky.
Just the end.
Well, then you win the tiebreak.
What was yours?
Texas State. TXST.
Oh, yeah. And mine was MONM for Monmouth.
So we both took the double letter approach, I see. Well, GG nonetheless. Let's move on.
Yes, sir. So, moving on to some March Madness news. So, if you don't remember us talking about him last week, Darius Acuff Jr., he got that shoe deal. Well, we want to talk about his freshman season overall as this became readily available to us, and we didn't really see it before until SEC Network posted it. So he was actually the freshman of the year for the SEC Player of the Year, the SEC Tournament MVP, Arkansas single season scoring and assist record holder, and most points by any SEC player in the first 3 NCAA tournament games. So I just wanted to kind of talk about this, kind of establish how great this freshman is. He's probably going to go to the draft next year. I haven't heard much if he is or not, but I could easily see him going in the top 10 with the kind of freshman year he had.
This is a really good draft class for freshmen, even though. So we'll see. Could be competitive to get into the top 10 even. UConn's men's basketball team now has the longest streak in NCAA tournament history, with 17 straight wins in the Sweet 16 or later. So this year they are currently in the Final Four, right?
Yeah, they just moved on to the Final Four. They beat Duke.
So we'll see how far they end up going. But before that, 2011 they won the Sweet 16, Elite 8, Final Four, and then went on to win the national championship. In 2014, they won the Sweet 16, Elite 8, Final Four, and then were national champions. In 2023, they won the Sweet 16, Elite 8, Final Four, and then were national champions. In 2024, they were Sweet 16, Elite 8, Final Four, and then national champions. And then in 2026, they're currently in the Final Four. So that means basically every time they're in the tournament past the Sweet 16, they go on to win, right? At least since 2011. I did not know that. I'm feeling a lot more confident about my pick of them winning then.
So that win streak is actually at 18, including the Elite Eight win.
Hmm. So we've talked about it a few times now, but I think the only way I can beat you in our brackets is if UConn wins at all.
I believe so. But that's still crazy considering Duke has had dynasties and uh, North Carolina has had dynasties, and then UConn, they just come out of nowhere and they're like, we're just going to take the longest streak in NCAA history. I mean, it's over the span of 15 years, but it's still crazy that every time they get to the Sweet 16, they end up winning the national championship.
Yeah, but I don't think this shows the full story. Like they've probably in between these years had decent runs. They just didn't make it to the Sweet 16. So then, assuming those players didn't leave, they can just keep building off of that.
Right. And speaking of UConn, they actually pulled off one of the biggest upsets, I would say, because they were down by 19 points at one time by to Duke, and that was before halftime. But Duke led by 15 points at halftime. So number one seeds before this were 134 and 0 when leading by 15 plus points at half. Uh, and now they're 134 and 1 with UConn getting that buzzer beater on them to win the game, which is still
Which
crazy.
that was by far one of the craziest ends of a March Madness game I've ever seen. And I've seen a lot of buzzer beaters. I've seen heck a buzzer beater championship win. What was that, 2016?
Something like that. I don't know what you're talking about though.
So, but I still think this beats all of those because, like, the fact that they not only came back being down so much against the number one seed, but also to get a steal late in the game for a buzzer beater deep three. I mean, you can't really ask for a better finish.
Yeah, and I've seen a lot of people say that they think Duke lost this game more than UConn won this game. Because Duke, I don't even know what happened in that last 10 seconds, why they just randomly, like Boozer randomly threw the ball when he could have held on
I,
to it because of the 10-second
well,
rule.
yeah, it was behind the line for a decent amount of time, so he was probably a little worried about that. And I don't know if they had a timeout left.
Well, with college basketball, you're allowed 10 seconds on the other side of the court, and they got the ball with exactly 10 seconds left. So time would have expired when they would have had to turn over the ball.
So you're saying
Plus,
they could have like thrown it up in the air or something?
yeah, which is what they actually talked about. I saw they actually talked about this before the tournament that there's time left and they're up to just throw the ball straight up in the air.
That's kind of crazy. Yeah, I mean when you're in the moment, it's hard to think straight. But either way, it was a crazy ending. And, if you haven't seen it, definitely look it up because it's hype. It's a hype moment. All right, now we're gonna move on to our ball and orders segment. We've been saying for the last couple weeks we only have one or two here or there, and now all of a sudden crime has exploded.
Crime has exploded. Must have been a full moon.
Was it?
I don't know. That's what. Remember, they'd always say that in school. Full moon made people go nuts or whatever.
It's a full moon today.
Oh well, everybody go nuts. I guess. Cheers.
Anyways, let's start with the biggest news probably. Tiger Woods was arrested and sent to jail for driving under the influence, as well as committing property damage and refusing to submit to a lawful test after being involved in a car crash in Florida. Sheriff John Brudenziek from the Martin County Sheriff's Office in Florida told reporters that Woods showed signs of impairment after the incident in Florida, which happened shortly after 2 p.m. local time on Friday, and it happened in the same town where Woods lives. Woods took a breathalyzer test at the scene, which returned negative, but refused to submit a urine sample. No injuries were reported. The sheriff said Woods was driving a Land Rover northbound on South Beach Road at a high but unknown speed, and the speed limit was 30 miles per hour when he attempted to pass a truck hauling a pressure cleaner, which had slowed to turn into a driveway. Woods' SUV swerved to avoid the truck but clipped the back of the trailer, and his Land Rover flipped on its side and slid down the road. Woods climbed out of the passenger window to get out. Tiger Woods told authorities that he was looking down at his cell phone and changing the radio station in his SUV, which caused him not to see a truck slowing down before his rollover crash last week. Martin County Sheriff's Department, Tatiana Leviner wrote in an arrest that Woods was sweating profusely and his movement was lethargic and slow while she interviewed him. Once Woods removed his sunglasses, she noted that his eyes were bloodshot and glassy, and his pupils were extremely dilated. They also found two hydrocodone pills in Woods' left hand's pocket. This was a drug found in Woods' system when he was arrested on DUI charges in May of 2017, which was his one of his, I guess, famous arrests. He's been arrested a couple times now. So, seems like there's speculation that he's kind of back to his old shenanigans. He was held until he was released on $1,000 bond later Friday night. In a court filing Tuesday, Woods waived an arrangement and entered a plea of not guilty. He demanded a trial by jury. He also announced that he's stepping away to seek treatment and focus on his health. So yeah, there's a lot of like unknowns in this situation because like it was announced, like I said, that he was, I guess, not guilty, but he did have pills in his pocket and he did seem to be under the influence. So it seems to point to the fact that he was under the influence, which is kind of sad to see him relapse again like that after some of his past issues. I think he has 4 DUIs total now. So yeah, it's kind of sad, but it's also like kind of not surprising at the same time.
Yeah, I think it's a good step in the right direction, though, that he's kind of seeking treatment and focusing on his health instead of worrying about getting back on tour. But I'm sure he did that in 2017 too, and he had that relapse.
And I do know, I think he suffered with a lot of back pain in later years. So,
I did see he had like surgery in 2024 or something for his back. So if you've been following along with us, you know that there's been some stuff going on in college football. So the NCAA tried to appeal the Mississippi State Supreme Court in the Trinidad Chambliss eligibility case, and their appeal has been denied, and he will be eligible to play for Ole Miss in 2026. So it's kind of cool to see that he'll be able to play, although it took about 3 months for him to finally get through with this. Uh, so, congratulations. He gets to play another year of football, and hopefully, he's good enough to go to the draft next year because I don't think he's going to get away with it again next year.
yeah, I feel like it got appealed maybe 4 separate times by different parties, so it's kind of crazy. But hopefully it means it's finally over. In other news, Phillies third baseman Alec Boehm accused his parents of siphoning large amounts of his money and using some to pay their own expenses. His lawsuit comes after he began to review his personal and financial affairs in recent months. He says that his parents refused to give him access to the accounts or provide him with the information he sought about them. They sought to freeze him out of 4 accounts established as limited liability companies, and he now believes they converted a sizable amount of his money from these accounts to their for their own use, according to him. The accounts had various purposes, such as investing in securities or buying real estate, and the lawsuit also says his parents used money from the Alec Boehm Foundation to pay their expenses. His lawsuit asks his parents to pay at least $3 million in damages and hand over control of the accounts and hire an accountant to track every dollar they transferred from Boehm's personal accounts to the accounts they controlled. It's kind of sad if that's true.
Also, kind of crazy that he's 29 years old and doesn't have access to his own bank accounts.
Well, I think from what I read at the top, what did they say? Yeah, limited liability companies. So I think certain accounts in large quantities of money you have to like sign multiple people on, right?
That could be. I have no idea. I'm not into the banking world.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's what the limited liability company means, but I do know that for student loans, you certain ones you have to sign like a co-signer on to say if you can't pay it, someone else will. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's a similar situation, or if it's something that like he let his parents help run his businesses and stuff.
We also have an update this week on Dayton Weber. So, as you remember last week, he's the quadruple amputee that shot his friend in a car. And so there's been an update that an argument over drugs, guns, and a woman was allegedly the reason why Dayton Weber shot his friend, Brad Wells, while driving a Tesla. So Wells and Weber were born in the same month and were friends who enjoyed hunting and motocross. They also apparently dated the same woman who told TMZ, the woman told TMZ over the weekend that she briefly dated Wells after spending roughly 4 years with Weber. It was not clear, though, whether she is the woman referenced in this argument.
However,
But,
she did say that they didn't date like at the same time, like there was no cheating involved.
right. And so they're using the Tesla as a piece of evidence for police and are now examining like the video footage because Teslas are equipped with multiple exterior cameras to assist with autopilot and feature safety features. So they obtained a search warrant for the thumb drive in Weber's vehicle to preserve any video evidence of the alleged crime. And something else also came out today that he's claiming it was self defense and there was a history of Wells being kind of an aggressive personality or having aggressive moments.
Yeah, his
And
ex said she wasn't surprised by it.
so So Weber said it was life or death for him. He had to shoot him or he was going to get killed himself. So he killed Wells. And I actually wanted to say a fun fact about his amputation because I don't remember if we said it last week. So his
Fun
arms and
fact.
so his arms and legs were amputated when he was 10 months old to save his life after he contracted a blood infection that led to sepsis.
I don't know if that's a fun fact, but it's a fact, yeah.
A fact about him.
Yeah, I mean it's hard to say without like hearing the trial and stuff, but I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that him and his lawyer are arguing it was self-defense as a way to try to get out of it. Because they did say initially there was two passengers that witnessed it, and they haven't said that it was defense,
Yeah, they haven't said
from what I
anything.
heard.
From what I've heard, they've been kind of being on the outside of the whole thing since it happened.
So I don't know. We'll see if we get any more updates. Our last bit of crime news today. In a new lawsuit, one of the first three women to officiate an NFL game describes her 3 years at the pinnacle of her profession as a descent into the grip of a sexist institution unable to treat women as equal. Robin DeLorenzo cited gender-based scrutiny, humiliation, and open hostility among the indignities she suffered from 2022 to 2025 as a league official. The lawsuit in Manhattan federal court, filed Friday, sought reinstatement along with unspecified damages. Ryan McCarthy, an NFL spokesperson, said in an email that De Lorenzo was terminated after 3 seasons of documented underperformance. He stated the allegations in the lawsuit are baseless and we will vigorously defend them in court. The lawsuit asserted that an NFL officials crew chief told then Pittsburgh Steelers coach Mike Tomlin one day during training camp that she could be made to sing in front of everyone, like rookie football players, because she was a new official. As a result, she said she put on an utterly humiliating singing performance in front of the Steelers players, all the men on her officiating crew and her boss, who she said had promised not to record her but did so anyway, according to the lawsuit. In the following months, she was repeatedly shamed, harassed, and subjected to profanity-laced trash talk by her crew chief, a man who had recently been accused of mistreating another female employee. Instead of supporting one of the only women on its officiating staff, the NFL exposed her to unchecked harassment, denied her the resources given to men, manipulated her training and grading opportunities, and ultimately ended her career based on tainted evaluations created by the very people who discriminated against her. That's what the lawsuit said. Uh, the lawsuit also said that the harm to her career was irreversible and the emotional and reputational damage was immense. Yeah, I mean, I could definitely see her winning this case. One thing I'm a little iffy about is like the singing thing because I feel like to some extent, if she wasn't like forced at gunpoint or something to do that, I don't know if she can claim that that necessarily mattered. But the fact that she said like other things happened and like she said it was repeated harassment and stuff, I think she'll probably have a case for those sort of things.
And it's, I mean, if this case goes through, this could be big for the NFL for uh, kind of a stepping stone for female referees since there's only three of them. Well, now two. We only have one bit of college football news this week, and it's kind of big in my opinion. So, the NCAA adopted strict penalties for schools that take players outside of the NCAA transfer portal window. And according to the NCAA, the penalties are automatically triggered, including a suspension of the respective sports head coach for 50% of the season and a fine of 20% of that sport's budget. So this is across all sports: lacrosse, basketball, football, soccer, table tennis, anything you
It
can
just
think
left
of.
it at all sports. Yeah, this is a big deal, but also I don't know if I've heard of very many instances of people taking players outside the portal window because I feel like that's pretty strict as is. Like I don't know how that would work without people knowing.
I wonder if they're referring to tampering too, because tampering is a pretty big thing.
It sounds to me like this might be specifically if they like have the player practicing with them and stuff, as if they're actually like on the team.
Hmm.
So this to me almost seems like a rule that they're adding just so they know that what the penalty is, rather than something that has necessarily been like happening per se. You know what I mean? Like it's more like a because this could happen, they're gonna set it up now kind of thing. Because I've never heard of any instances where they take players outside the portal window. I've heard of tampering and that sort of thing, but actually having the players, I think, is a different thing. But I guess we'll see if all of a sudden we get a lot of um, coaches getting suspended for half the season because of this, then we'll know that it actually was a big deal. All right, now we're going to move on to the NFL segment. So we have one signing. The Bills are re-signing DeMar Hamlin to a one-year contract.
And that's all the signings and news for the offseason this week, other than some rule updates. So, Fuller's Attorney General is challenging the Rooney Rule. If you don't know, that's kind of like a minority uh, rule in the NFL that they have to hire like one or two minorities per team. And so they're calling on the NFL to suspend it or face possible civil rights action. James Untmeyer sent a letter to NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell on Wednesday to express concern that the Rooney Rule, which requires teams to interview external minority candidates for specific positions, is blatant racist and sex discrimination, and that hiring decisions should be based on merit only. The Rooney Rule and its offshoots are illegal in Florida, is what he actually stated. So the NFL acknowledged receiving the letter and that the league is reviewing its contents. The Rooney Rule, adopted in 2003, requires NFL clubs to interview two external minority candidates for vacant head coach, general manager, and coordinator positions. NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell made the league's stance on the Rooney Rule clear after being challenged by the Attorney General that it is here to stay. At the conclusion of the annual league meeting on Tuesday, Goodell defended the NFL initiative and aims to increase the diversity of hiring pools for key positions. He said Florida law is clear hiring decisions cannot be based on race, is what the Attorney General had mentioned in his statement. So Goodell stressed Tuesday that the Rooney Rule is not a hiring mandate and the spirit of the initiative has proved to be successful in football and even beyond, which we're kind of seeing in soccer, like we said last week. Uh, but Goodell said that the NFL is happy to engage with the Attorney General or any other legislators as the league continues to tweak and alter the rule over time.
Yeah, I don't quite get the purpose of this rule because since it's not a requirement to hire them, nothing's stopping them from just interviewing the two minorities and then dismissing them right away. You know what I mean? At the same time, it just forces teams to do more interviews than they might have to, which could cost them time and money. It's weird to me. I feel like when the NFL made this rule, they had good intentions, but they didn't straight up pick a side like we saw with FIFA, where they're actually requiring them to have women on the team. In this case, they're just saying you have to interview them. You don't have to hire them, you just have to interview them, which to me doesn't fix the issue they were trying to fix. At the same time, it just makes the interview process longer possibly than it needs to be. I don't know that personally I would make the rule where they have to hire them or whatever, or like a certain percentage, right? Like what FIFA's doing. But I don't know that having this rule really does much because I don't see what's stopping them, like I said, from just dismissing the interview or go into it not expecting to hire them. And so it just seems like a waste of time and money. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I actually just looked it up. I'm not really sure what this rule is doing, like you said, because the number of minority head coaches is currently at a historic low. And I looked it up in 2003 when the rule was implemented. There was three minority head coaches. So entering into 2026, there were only three minority head coaches, and then just now this offseason, Robert Sala went and signed, making him the fourth one.
It seems to me it's like the NFL's way of saying that they care about this issue, but they don't want to force it like what FIFA's doing, because then that would make them look like kind of forceful and that'd be very controversial by some people. So they figured, yeah, we're just throwing this rule to make it seem like it's doing something, but really it just is a waste of time in my opinion. I don't think that they should force it. So like I'm not saying this rule needs to be changed per se, but it just seems like it's not like I don't see any reason why you couldn't just go into the interview fully expecting not to hire them, but you have to do it because the rule says you do.
Right.
I don't know. It's weird to me. It just seems like extra steps in the interviewing process that doesn't need to happen. In other news, NFL owners have approved a competition committee proposal for 1 year only, allowing the NFL officiating department to correct clear and obvious misses made by on field officials that impact the game in the event replacement refs are used for the 2026 season. The NFLPA backs the referees as they say the players need trained professional officials. NFL owners have also approved a rule change allowing the league to step in and assist on potential disqualifications, whether for flagrant football acts or non football acts, and initiate a flag if one wasn't thrown. Situations like DK Metcalf's incident last year, where no flag meant no ejection, could now be addressed in real time. Fouls eligible for this alert include twisting, pulling, or turning the face mask, roughing the passer, intentional grounding, horse collar tackles, illegal contact, pass interference, and disqualification. Overall, they seem like a pretty good rule change. We've talked about this in the past, I think when they were talking about this rule. There's instances where you see people kind of fighting and then nothing happens because the officials didn't see it.
And then we haven't really talked about it, but the NFL and the referees are currently still trying to figure something out for the collective bargaining agreement. So right now, there are no NFL referees for next season, which is why they're looking for replacement refs and came out with that rule. So, kind of begs the question if the NFL is going to try to push for this collective bargaining agreement to go through, since the NFLPA is behind the refs and they want the trained and professional officials, or if they're just going to go their way and they're like, well, we don't care that much, we just need officials. So, anyways, the NFL is partnering with TMRW Sports to develop a pro flag football league for men and women that will be backed by all 32 teams, plus a plethora of well known names in and out of football.
Yeah, I'm not sure quite how in depth this is going to be, like if it's going to have a draft system or what, but this could definitely be pretty cool.
I'm also wondering if, like, the league and that TMRW Sports is also going to put money together to kind of get them, like, methods of transportation, whether it be a bus or plane and hotel and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably going to be part of the teams, however that is funded and stuff. The NFL asked prediction market operators such as Kalshi and Polymarket to refrain from offering trades on events that could be easily manipulated or determined in advance, including what announcers say during broadcasts, which celebrities attend games, and the upcoming draft. The NFL said it wanted to protect game participants from unfair and unwanted allegations tied to gambling and prediction markets and object and objected to four types of offerings: those that can be easily manipulated by a single person, such as a missed field goal; those that are knowable in advance, such as draft picks, player signings, and coach firings; anything related to officiating; and inherently objectionable topics such as player injuries and fan safety. Yeah, I mean, honestly, this makes sense to me. I feel like you could easily tell your friends and family if you're like high up in an organization who you're going to draft or that sort of thing. So these are very manipulable, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. Uh, Whether you know somebody on the inside or maybe if you, I guess, are related to the GM or something, and you're like, hey, there's a trade on here that I bet on, make it happen or whatever.
Right. And then even if that didn't happen, you can usually blame those people for it. Like you could blame the announcers and say like they knew what the thing was going to be, so they purposely didn't say something, you know? So yeah, I mean this is a good rule change. Honestly, just get rid of betting altogether, and we wouldn't have any issues.
Yeah, so once again, one of those things where it's kind of manipulated. You could, uh, I guess, if you're the celebrity betting, you could literally pick your name and go. Or if you know the celebrity pretty well and you know they're going to the game, bet on them to be there. So, yeah, it's interesting. Nonetheless, we'll see if Kalshi or Polymarket try to reverse this in the future. But in other changes in the NFL, the owners approved a rule that eliminates a team's incentive to kick the ball out of bounds on kickoffs from the 50-yard line. And they are also allowing teams to declare an onside kick at any point in the game. This change arose because teams wanted to be able to use an onside kick if a penalty had force led to them kicking off from the 50-yard line. A modification of alignment requirements on the kickoff for members of the receiving team in the setup zone, aligning the kickoff rule with the original intent of special teams coaches who developed it in 2024. The NFL thinks it could address an increase in the concussion rate on kickoffs.
So what exactly have they said like what the alignment change is gonna look like?
I believe they're going to go back to the original alignment
Oh, really?
because it sounds like they know what they can do to decrease the amount of concussions on kickoffs. So I don't know. I guess we'll see when they give a further explanation on that. But that's kind of what it sounds like to me that they're going to go back to the regular alignment.
But I thought the regular was proven to be like worse. Or did new data change that?
Well, they originally changed it to kind of get rid of the chance of concussions happening, but a lot of people hate it, including the owners. So I think they're trying to see if they can find another way to prohibit or to prevent concussions from happening so they can go back to the original way to appease everybody. But I don't know.
I don't think you can go back to the original because even if you change when they can run at each other, they're still gonna run at each other.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a matter of helmet design or.
I mean, that I feel like you could change the helmets and stuff, but I feel like they've been doing helmet stuff for so long now that I don't think that's possibly the answer to this. Like, I just don't see that being the reality.
Right.
I feel like the main issue with the original lineup was because the ball goes so far down the field that they get to run full speed and get to them, you know?
Hmm.
Yeah, I really don't know what you do. I really feel like the new kickoff rule was better, personally, if they actually wanted to fix concussions. But, I mean, that guy's running full speed either way. So really, to me, it's just the returner that's probably at the most risk. So really, I don't know what you do without jeopardizing where they catch the ball at. But yeah, we're just have to see what they do. Another rule change is that they approved an expansion on mental health coverage to require each team to employ a full-time clinician or offer full-time coverage. 8 of the 32 teams already are in compliance. It is subject to approval by the NFL Players Association because it's part of the collective bargaining agreement. The policy will also provide more support for players on injured reserve. So if that goes through, I think that's a really good change. And then lastly, there's a rule that will permit players on the reserve and physically unable to perform list to begin a 21-day practice period after the team's second game of the regular season. In our last bit of NFL news, the Jaguars are relocating to Orlando for the 2027 season as major renovations are underway at Everbank Stadium. Renovations are expected to be finished by August of 2028. So this is just a temporary relocation, but it is kind of a interesting development nonetheless, and I'm kind of curious if this might affect their play in some way. All right, now we're going to move on to the NBA segment. So we have one injury update. It was just announced recently that Curry is expected to return this Sunday against the Rockets. He's been out for a decent amount of time now, so this is a long-awaited return. Um, I don't know if it will matter too much because it seems like the Warriors are gonna do kind of. I don't know. It's too late for them to tank, but I think if they make the play-in tournament, which I saw they might have already clinched, I'm not sure. I just feel like I don't know if this him coming back is gonna be that big of a difference, but when Jimmy gets back and everything, if Porzingis can stay healthy, or this could be a pretty dominant team in the future, but it's hard to say. Nonetheless, though, it's always good to see Curry come back and we'll see if he puts up any insane stats or anything.
And they did clinch the playoffs. The playoffs are actually set as of today. So, which we'll talk about next week because I believe that the last NBA games,
There is NBA games today.
yeah, there's NBA games, there's six more games in the schedule, and the last game is on April 12th, which would be in 2 weeks, but we will talk about the playoffs next week since it's already set. So, anyways, we, we got a lot of history this week in the NBA. Luka Doncic becomes the 10th player to reach 600 points in a calendar month. and he also became the sing. He also achieved the most points for the Lakers in a single month, passing Kobe Bryant in March of 2006, which is crazy. That's 20 years apart. But besides that, I also wanted to point out I saw that Luka Doncic has now scored more points in 1 month than Anthony Davis had scored on the Mavericks his whole time, which is nuts.
Yeah. And Nikola Jokic became the first player in NBA history with at least 35 points, 35 assists, and 35 rebounds over a 2 game span. Wow.
And that happened just a little over 24 hours apart, those two games. So pretty impressive. And we talked about a guy named Brooke earlier, actually. So back on the Brooke Lopez train, I believe I said Brooke Lopez when you
Yeah.
said Brooke. He actually moved into 14th place, passing Ben Wallace for all-time blocks. So congratulations to him. Sometimes I forget he's still in the league because he's
Yeah.
older now and you don't really hear much about him.
Yeah. Kind of forgot he's in the league still too, but he's one of those players that kind of a role player, not to say he doesn't start necessarily, but he's brings pretty good value to teams, or at least when he was in his prime. In other news, the Raptors went on a 31-0 run against the Orlando Magic. This is the biggest scoring run in the play-by-play era. So it was 20 to 14. Toronto was down by 6, and then after the run, it was 45 to 20, which is insane.
Yeah, actually, last night the Rockets were up like 15-1 or something, or 9-1 or something, and I thought they were gonna end up breaking that run because it was just the Rockets taking over. But that's really impressive that they were able to do a 31-0 run. I'm not sure what happened. I know there was a lot of turnovers, but I don't know if there's a lot of poor shots or nobody could just hit a shot.
Or good defense. Yeah, I don't know.
In other news, Amari Stoudemire, Candace Parker, Elena Del Don, and Doc Rivers are among the members inducted into the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame class of 2026. So, congratulations to them. You are now officially Hall of Famers. Amari Stoudemire and Doc Rivers are really the only people I've actually seen. I've seen pictures and clips of Candace Parker, but and I'm not seen Doc Rivers play, but I've seen him as a coach. I
Which I don't know if he deserves being in the Hall of Fame for his coaching career.
don't know. He had the Lob City Clippers.
Did they win a championship?
No.
Well, there you go. I mean, yeah, maybe, I don't know. It kind of depends on your definition of success. I mean, he definitely had winning teams. He just didn't really do well in the playoffs.
He has one NBA championship with the Celtics in 2008.
I mean, that was a decent Celtics team.
Yeah, so was it the coaching? Probably not. It's probably just good players.
Maybe he was a better coach back then. I actually don't know much about him pre like the Clippers. Maybe he was a bit more respected as a coach. I don't know. Either way, we got some more news. The Chicago Bulls are waiving Jaden Ivey after his recent anti-LGBTQ comments amid several rants on religion and other topics. Now, I could have swore he was on the Pistons. Did he get traded at some point this season?
I believe so. Or he signed with the Bulls. I don't remember.
Okay. Yeah, this is kind of a weird situation. I didn't really want to go into it too much, but I will say on like an Instagram live, I think it was, he was like going off on random players, like not involved at all. He was like talking about how Curry is like a fake Christian and stuff, which there might be some truth to those claims, but I don't get why he was going off on like other people when that it seems to me that like none of those people that he was going off on were involved in him getting waived,
Hmm.
which is just a weird It just rubs me the wrong way because it took a situation that was kind of bad and most people agreed was kind of unfair, and it kind of made it almost like he was a crybaby in some sense. You know what I mean?
Actually, what the Bulls said was kind of weird because they said that he was released due to conduct detrimental to the team. And a lot of people were hating on that because
Yeah,
it was just a religious belief. He didn't do anything to his teammates or anything to cause the team to lose or whatever.
right. Which I agree, but I don't know that he handled it the best way. I think he should have probably handled it with a bit more dignity, not going off on other players, and then uh addressing it and possibly getting lawyers or something involved if he needed to.
Yeah, it's also crazy that over 20,000 of his jerseys sold within 24 hours of him being released. Sold them out.
Yeah.
So I guess he's got a lot of support behind him, but really, who won in that situation? The NBA probably makes 90% off of those jerseys.
Yeah, we'll have to see if he ends up getting signed or something. I wouldn't be surprised now if he never plays in the NBA again,
Hmm.
which is unfortunate because if I remember correctly, he was a pretty decent player, wasn't he?
I believe so. More of like a role player. Yeah, he averaged like 11 points per game this season, 8 points per game with the Pistons before that, 17 points per game, 15. So he was kind of like probably the second or third option. But anyways, we have update on anti-tanking. We've been talking about this off and on for the past month. But the NBA presented three comprehensive anti-tanking concepts to the Board of Governors last Wednesday, and modifications are expected to each of them before the formal vote is taking place in May. So the first concept is 18 teams in the NBA draft lottery, which seeds are 7 through 15 in each conference, and these are flattened odds, so they're all at the same base of odds. Uh, Basically, the teams in the play-in tournament and the lower teams in each conference is basically what that's saying. But 22 teams in the lottery using a 2-year record. It's the second concept, which is the same thing with the seeds. It's the play-in teams plus the lower teams in the conferences, plus the floor first round exits in both conferences. So all the teams that lose in that first round would also be into the draft lottery. And then the third concept is 18 teams in a 5 by 5 lottery, which means the bottom 5 teams have equal odds for the top pick, with the lottery formed for picks 1 through 5.
I think currently there's 14 teams in the lottery. So is this saying that it would be all 18 teams would have the same odds?
Yeah, in the first one. I'm not
I
really sure what the last one is saying.
I don't I don't know that any of these, well, the second one's not terrible, but like we talked about, there is potential issues with 2-year records because it could be like a legitimately good team to nowhere. You know what I mean? Like all their players retire or leave. But I don't think I like the flattened odds because that means you're telling me that the 18th best team is equal to the worst team in the league in terms of getting the first player in the draft? That seems incredibly unfair, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, because they made the playoffs and they could have actually went to the finals if they actually played good enough. If you think about it, because it doesn't say anything about not advancing in the playoffs.
Yeah. It seems like this could potentially reward teams like the Warriors who they might go out in the first or second round, but they have like a superstar on their team. They get the first overall pick. Let's say it's a Cooper Flag-esque player, and then immediately they win the championship next year. That doesn't seem fair to the teams that are actually bad. Not to mention, I don't think that fixes tanking. Well, I mean, it would in a sense that people wouldn't tank anymore because they could still get a good pick, but like it hurts the people that are actually bad. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if I don't quite get the last one like you said, but I don't know that any of these are the right solution to this issue.
I'm wondering if what that bottom one means is the bottom five teams have the same odds for the top five picks, and then everyone below that has the same amount of odds.
Okay.
And then everyone below that just gets their picks in order from where they finished.
Yeah, I mean that's probably the best way to do it out of these options. But it does beg the question, is the bottom five teams too big to have equal odds? I don't know. Because I feel like there's some years where there's only like maybe three bad teams, like really, really bad teams, you know?
Hmm.
So,
Well, looking at the standings this year, the Pacers, the Wizards, and the Nets on the East are the only teams with less than 20 wins, and then the Kings and the Jazz. So those would be the five teams if it were in place this year.
but to be fair, all of those teams are probably deserving of a first round or first overall pick.
Hmm.
So maybe it's a little bit more fair than we think. We'll have to see, I guess, long term if they end up picking these. But I really hope they don't do the first option because that straight up just does not seem fair.
Hmm.
All right, now we're gonna move on to the miscellaneous segment.
So I wanted to add this because I thought it was really interesting when I saw it. So WWE Hall of Famer Stone Cold Steve Austin finished first and at the Prospect 250 race in the Nevada desert after almost 6 hours of driving. So this is like an off-course track that goes on for 6 hours, and I just thought it was cool that he's going into that kind of area after his pro wrestling career. I know he likes doing that kind of stuff, like ATVs and that kind of outdoor stuff.
So what did he race on?
It's like a off-road buggy, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I just looked it up. Oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah, that's kind of cool to see that he's trying out new things and actually succeeding.
Yeah, so almost a Michael Jordan take.
In other news, one of the biggest actually things that was announced this week is that transgender women athletes are officially excluded from the women's events at the Olympics after the IOC agreed to a new eligibility policy Thursday that aligns with US President Donald Trump's executive order on sports ahead of the 2028 Los Angeles Games. Uh, Eligibility for any female category event at the Olympic Games or any other IOC event, including individuals in team sports, is now limited to biological females, the International Olympic Committee said, to be determined by a mandatory gene test once in an athlete's career. It is unclear how many, if any, transgender women are competing at an Olympic level. No women who transitioned from being born male competed at the 2024 Paris Summer Games, though weightlifter Laurel Hubbard did at the Tokyo Olympics in 2021 without winning a medal. So this isn't necessarily an issue that is kind of happening necessarily, but it seems more of like a preemptive thing. I saw a lot of people happy about this. I saw a lot of people saying that there could be issues with this gene testing. Um, my guess is though they're gonna do pretty diligent tests to ensure that there's no sort of flukes. Um, but we're out to see if this has any issues in the future. Speaking of the Olympics, kind of. The figure skating world championship just happened in Prague. And Ilya Malinin won in the singles event, so he's won now 3 years in a row. So it's pretty impressive. I did look up the record, and I think it is 10 years, but it happened like in the 60s or something. Um, so I don't know if he's ever going to beat that. But either way, winning 3 years in a row is pretty impressive.
Yeah, and speaking of championships, For the sixth consecutive year, the Buckeyes are national champions in pistol competition. I believe we talked earlier this year about them beating Army and Navy and having a 6-0 record. So that's pretty impressive that Ohio State can win in a different sport besides football.
In other news, Chase De La Tour's first three MLB games have resulted in 5 hits and 4 home runs. This is the first time ever in the first 3 games of a player's career that they have recorded 5 hits and 4 home runs. So he's off to a great start for the Guardians, and we'll see if he can keep it up. I've never heard of him, but obviously he's new, so we'll have to see if he's a name to remember in the future.
So this past weekend in the majors, or not majors, in the Masters for the USBC, EJ Tackett set the record at 258.39 for a match play scoring average. And the original record was set by Anthony Simonson with 250.4 in 2023. But EJ Tackett ended up losing on
By 1 pin, right?
yeah, he ended up losing by 1 pin on a 10 pin that stayed standing after a pretty good pocket shot. But
To me, it looked like it was about 1 degree too far to the left.
usually, if it's to the left, you leave a 10 pin or a 7 pin.
It looked to me like he hit the front pin more than the second pin.
That's how you're supposed to strike.
But I think like he didn't quite hit the pocket though, in between the two.
Well, the pocket is 1 degree to 6 degrees on the head pin.
Yeah, I think he hit it at like 7.
That would be to the right then.
Oh, it starts at the front?
Yeah, it starts at the front and goes to the right. If you're a right hand bowler. If you're a left hand bowler, starts at the front and goes to the left.
Okay, but I don't think his ball was really going straight. I think because it was curving, it kind of hit the front pin at an angle going left rather than back. So he didn't fully get, you know what I mean, like all the pins to bounce off of each other.
I guess so. But watching his previous ball was exactly the same, or close to exactly the same. And his first ball was a strike.
Yeah. I never saw the first ball, so I can't compare. But I'm just saying, from my perspective, having only watched that clip, it seemed like the angle was slightly off from what I've seen traditionally. Nonetheless, it was a tough battle, but he still made history even though he lost.
Yeah, one of the greatest bowlers in the PBA right now. So if you don't know EJ Tackett, now you do. And if you want to get better at bowling, that's the guy to listen to.
Yep. And our last bit of news for today's episode, Sidney Crosby became the 8th player in NHL history to notch 1,100 career assists. So congratulations to him.
Yeah, I'm a big Pittsburgh Penguins fan. I don't watch the games as much, but I still like rooting for them. Sidney Crosby's the goat. Besides Wayne Gretzky, don't take that to heart. That's my opinion.
I don't watch hockey, so I don't have an opinion either way.
That'll do it for this week's episode. We hope you enjoyed. As always, leave a comment for suggestions. And you got anything else?
Nope. When is the next week will be the results of March Madness, right?
Yep.
Will that be before we record?
Yeah, that'll be Monday, I believe.
So we gotta find out next episode who won between us.
Or if there was a tiebreaker.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys as always, like you said, for listening, and we will see you guys later.